everyone, we're here to continue our lore journey yet again through chapter 3 of Tribe 9. We're going to cover the background and the story of chapter 3. Did y'all see that? Did y'all see that down there? Anna telling me I shouldn't show my booba. Would the YouTubers like to see my booba? The comment is not being deleted. That's going in the video, honey. So, quick little refresher on the story of this series as a whole. So it takes place in Neo Tokyo, which is modeled after the real Tokyo and its 23 cities. There is a magic in the air that gives people superhuman abilities, and in exchange for that, people tend to be a little bit more violent. So the government of Neo Tokyo formulated the XB law, which demands that people resolve their conflicts using extreme baseball XB instead of violence. At some point, this individual Zero descends and dominates all of Neo Tokyo, and he removes the XB law, he restricts travel between the different cities, and then he institutes unique governing rules into each of the cities. And these governing rules are basically death games that the residents are forced to play and suffer through. Our protagonist, Kuronaka Yo, was kidnapped by Zero and held prisoner in Zero's fortress in the sky called the 24 City. And Yo was trapped there for 2 years until the rebel organization, the Trash Tribe, comes to 24 City to try and stop Zero, to shut down, because Zero has lasers in space, and that's what he uses to dominate the city. So the Trash Tribe came to try and shut down the lasers, and they saved Yo from Zero in the process. However, they clash with Zero, and ultimately, Yo has to participate in what's called XG, Extreme Game, where he must challenge soldiers specifically picked out by Zero called the Numbers, at the different governing rules of the cities and come out on top. And if Yo can defeat all of the Numbers, he can get whatever wish granted that he wants. And so the general the general flow line of the plot of this game is going to each of the individual cities and challenging the different members of the Numbers. So, within chapter 3, we go to Chiyoda City. I just realized I talked about the castle and I forgot to mention, look, you can see the ruins of the castle right in the back. Maybe I'll append that into the anime video. The castle that fell from the Chiyoda battle, she's right there, Chiyoda Castle. So, the governing rules of chapter 3, unfortunately, I would not survive them, because within Chiyoda City, in the game they call it Chiyoda City, I'm just gonna call it Chiyoda City, but the governing rules of Chiyoda City, everyone must stream. Hi, twitch.tv/HamiLine, catch me live, like and subscribe, follow. And in order to survive in the city, you must meet a quota of 1,000 views every single week. If you don't, you are deemed irrelevant and you are killed. You are executed. This city, Chiyoda City, has this weird, mysterious power to it in which buildings of the city can float in the sky. And they touched upon this a little bit in the anime, but within the game, they kind of say that they don't really understand how the technology of these floating buildings actually work, but all they know is that when buildings are forgotten, that's typically when they start floating up into the sky. And so the way that people are executed in Chiyoda City is they are floated up into the sky, and they die in the sky. So these are all the floating ruins. White cardboard boxes can be destroyed by attacking them. Me getting tutorials. These are the sky ruins of Chiyoda City with all these floating buildings and objects all everywhere. So let's get into the actual story itself of what happens in chapter 3. So chapter 3 continues directly from chapter 2. If you didn't catch the chapter 2 video, catch those on YouTube. I did the story synopsis, and we'll talk about the lore and theory for chapter 2 on YouTube. But the last thing that happened in chapter 2 was Yo's childhood friend Suyakumo dying as a member of the Numbers. And so Yo and his friend Suki become resolved to use the wish from Zero when they finish all of the XGs to revive Sui from the dead. And so to that end, Yo becomes kind of desperate to continue the XG. He wants to go to the city right away. We gotta go. And so little Zero here, suggests to the party that they should go to Chiyoda City, that's gonna be the best place that Yo can go to participate in the next XG. The people who join Yo in Chiyoda City are his childhood friend Tsuki Iroha. She still comes along with us. Mr. Santaro Mita from the Minato tribe. Chapter 2 took place in Minato City. Mr. Kazuki Aoyama, also from the Minato tribe, but the person who created the Trash Tribe, the rebel organization trying to fight Zero. And then obviously Kazuki is also very closely connected to Chiyoda City from the anime. And then Mr. Q, aka Ojiro Otori himself. I mean, obviously, if we're going to Chiyoda City, of course we're going to bring Ojiro along with us. So now does it make sense why we kind of had to talk a little bit about the anime before we can tackle the story of chapter 3? Because everything that happens in the anime kind of comes to a close in chapter 3. Chapter 3 of this game is what really feels like the true sequel to the story of the anime. So the group goes to Chiyoda City, and Mita immediately tells Yo and Suki, hey, y'all know Q is Ojiro Otori, right? Y'all know that, right? He was the guy who called himself the king of Neo Tokyo and caused the big Chiyoda battle that caused a lot of problems. The group is immediately exposed to the governing rules of Chiyoda City. They come face to face with the stream of the top streamer of the city, which is none other than Mr. Number 4 himself, Zenichi Magata. He is the most popular streamer in the city. He seems to have a lot of wild fans who absolutely adore him. And so he explains in his stream how the governing rules work in the city. And so the Trash Tribe immediately decides they need to meet up with some of their comrades, because in the prologue of this game, Zero scatters all of the Trash Tribe members to different cities in order to limit the number of allies that Yo can have within any one city. And so they meet up with the Trash Tribe members who were sent to Chiyoda City. Mr. Roku Saigo and Miss Enoki Yukigaya. So both of them are former members of the Ota tribe. So if you watch the anime video, then you know that it was the Ota tribe who was hired by Yui Kamiki to assassinate Kazuki Aoyama. Saigo and Enoki kind of give the group the rundown of what's been going on in Chiyoda City, how Magata kind of swooped in out of nowhere, because at the time, people were really suffering from the lingering effects of the Chiyoda battle and the debacle with Ojiro Otori. People were obviously physically injured, mentally injured, emotionally traumatized, financially traumatized. And so Magata comes in with goodwill, and he uses his empathy to appeal with all of these people. And so as a result, all of these people ultimately end up following him and just absolutely adoring him. And it gets to a point where a lot of the city has this weird cultic following for Magata. You know, the people no longer really care about dying to the governing rules, because in their eyes, Magata is going to create this utopia where no one will die anymore. Magata will bring people back from the dead. And so everyone just kind of worships Magata as a result. So the Trash Tribe immediately realizes they're kind of in trouble because in order to come out on XG in Chiyoda City, they have to get more views in a stream than Magata does. That's the only way they can surpass him and emerge victorious. So they start to think of different ways that they can increase the views of their streams. And so Tsuki comes across a popular streamer named Hina. Now, Mr. Q, Ojiro Otori, immediately recognizes Hina as none other than Hinagiku Akiba, who is one of his former retainers when he was within the Chiyoda tribe. She and her siblings, the Akiba trio, they used to function as ninjas for the Chiyoda tribe. And so Q knows that the Akiba siblings are someone that they can place their trust into. So they go to the maid cafe that Hina works at to basically get help. So they manage to find Miss Hina along with one of her brothers, Mr. Ichinosuke, and his fabulous veneers. Sickening. And so the two of them immediately recognize that Q is Ojiro Otori, their former master, and they immediately begin to simp over him. Miss Hina says, "I'm going to be Ojiro's bride." Ichinosuke says, "No, he's going to be single forever, just like me." But as for the third brother, Saizo Akiba, Ichinosuke informs them that he's currently missing. They don't really know where he is. And so obviously Hina and Ichinosuke agreed to help everyone out with their streams. And so Hina, being the popular, she's a maid girl who uses little cat girl slang. So she's a very popular individual, and so she helps everyone out with their streams. Unfortunately, Yo is struggling. So poor little Yo and his boring, bland personality is really struggling to make a dent in the streaming space, while everyone else of the Trash Tribe is managing to do pretty well. That is when Yo is secretly approached by Mr. Magata. But Magata approaches Yo as a hologram. He appears before Yo as a hologram, and he basically tells Yo, "Listen, I know that Zero wants us to fight. We are technically supposed to combat each other within the governing rules within XG, and one of us is supposed to come out on top and defeat Zero. What if we didn't do that, though? What if we called it a truce, Yo? What if instead of fighting each other, we worked together and we took down Zero together?" Yo is obviously immediately suspicious, but Yo is immediately suspicious, but also a little bit intrigued. And so in a form of goodwill, Magata decides to collab with Yo and appear on his stream. And so obviously the most popular streamer ever appearing on Yo's stream boosts his own personal popularity to astronomical levels. And so this is kind of what helps gain Yo's trust in Magata. And so Yo appeals to the rest of the Trash Tribe saying, "Hey, Magata approached me and he kind of actually wants to work together with us. He doesn't want to actually get into conflict with us. What do you all think?" Everyone in the Trash Tribe immediately says, "Absolutely not. Get him off the screen." Which creates a little bit of conflict between Yo and the Trash Tribe, because Yo is a stubborn little bitch. Yo is a stubborn little twink. And so is everyone else in the Trash Tribe. So the group kind of gets into an argument with each other over this, and the end result is that Yo leaves the Trash Tribe to try and cool his head a little bit. Tsuki is distraught, but Kazuki says, "No, just let him have some time alone to cool off." This is when Yo is once again approached by a holographic Magata who tells him, who basically goes, "How did it go?" And Yo tells him it didn't go very well. So Magata says, no, you know what? We just need to have a conversation with everyone. Maybe if we have a conversation, we can work things out and we can come to this truce together. So why don't you tell everyone in your stream that we should meet up? So Yo, using the stream, tells the Trash Tribe, why don't you all come to Magata's tower and we can talk things out together and resolve this. So the group goes to Magata Tower, where they are met face to face with the missing Akiba sibling, Saizo, who Saizo says that he is not missing. He is actually currently working for Magata, and that everyone should leave because they are annoying him, and they are all going to get in the way of his work. So please get out of here. Thank you. Literally Saizo appears on screen to say, "You guys are annoying, get away from me." So after getting through Magata's tower, they meet up with Yo and Magata, and the conversation does not really go very well. Magata immediately also identifies Q as none other than Ojiro Otori. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that the reason why Q in particular is apprehensive to work with Magata is because Q knows who Magata is. Q knows that Magata used to work as a scientist for for the Chiyoda tribe. His focus was on life sciences, and even though Q is not super familiar with Magata, and like on a personal level, he knows that Magata isn't really someone that is worthy of a person's trust. So, at this point, after Yo left, we had a perspective shift, because up until this point, Yo is the main protagonist. The story is always told through his perspective. But when Yo leaves, we have a perspective shift. The story is instead told through Q's perspective. Q kind of becomes the main protagonist at this point. And so within the Magata Tower, Q decides that he has to do something rather extreme if he's going to pry Yo away from Magata. So he turns on a stream and he declares to the whole city, "Hello everyone, I am Ojiro Otori, your former king. I know I was gone for a little bit, but I am back because you all are weak and pathetic. I've seen the state that Chiyoda City is in, and I am ashamed of how you all worship Magata, how you all have turned into little weakling babies. So I have now come back to expose Magata's secret and rule over Chiyoda City once again, you losers." And then he cuts the stream. So they decide to have, Q proposes a little XB match against Yo and Magata. And so if Yo emerges victorious, then the Trash Tribe has to work with Magata. But if the Trash Tribe emerges victorious, then Yo has to leave Magata and rejoin the Trash Tribe. And Ojiro plans to use this XB match to expose Magata's secret, whatever his secret might be. Because Ojiro knows that Magata must be hiding something. And so they stream the XB match itself. As they prepare for the XB match, obviously, they are met with hordes of very angry people who are shoving and pushing and attacking Ojiro. Someone even stabs Ojiro, even though he covers it up immediately and doesn't really tell anyone that he got stabbed. Saizo, y'all remember that little twink? Saizo, where did he go? Get him back on the screen. Saizo once again appears and says, "Why didn't you all listen to me? Why didn't you all go away? Now I have to play this XB match against y'all. This is really annoying. You people are so annoying." Saizo once again appears on the screen for a second time to tell everyone that they're annoying, and then he leaves again. So we have our little XB match, and if anyone has played the Danganronpa series, you know that the Danganronpa series, the way that the story of those games worked is that you would have your little like quiet life, bad things would happen, and you would investigate, and then you would have like a big class trial where all secrets would be revealed. Tribe 9 kind of does the same thing, where they have, the story to learn about all the things going on, and then during the XB match, that is when all secrets are revealed. The secret of Zenichi Magata is that he's dead. The Magata that appears before everyone is nothing more than an AI simulation of his personality. He only ever appears as a holographic projection because he's no longer alive. Ooh. We learn that after that, the AI simulation crashes out, and we learn of Magata's sort of true motivations behind why he's a member of the numbers. So as I mentioned before, Q knew Magata as a life sciences scientist for the Chiyoda tribe, and Magata had this obsession with life and death, which, clock that. Remember how I keep saying that one of the big theme of Tribe 9 itself is tackling this concept of life and death. It's a topic that is always coming up. So Magata is so obsessed with life and death, he's in particular obsessed with the afterlife. And he is very annoyed that he does not know what happens in the afterlife. So after Zero takes over and he learns of the concept of this wish, Magata realizes what he can do is he can die, he can have his AI simulation come out on top on all the governing rules, then Magata can earn the wish and bring himself back to life. Basically, his plan was to explore the afterlife and then come back and be able to tell everyone about what happens in the afterlife. So that's why this AI simulation of him was designed to manipulate the governing rules such that to basically maximize his own personal streams. That's why he was so empathetic. That's why he took advantage of everyone's trauma in order to gain a cultic following towards him, so that he was basically nice to people to take advantage of them. Just like a content creator would. Did I say that out loud? Ultimately, obviously, because of the secret being exposed, this backfires on him and Magata disappears. Now, because the XB match was streamed, the stream itself got more views than any of Magata's streams, so it technically means that the Trash Tribe won the XG. Congratulations! So for their mini reward, from Zero, they decide to abolish the governing rules of Chiyoda City, just like they did in all of the other cities. So seemingly, it is the end of the chapter, except it isn't. Saizo appears to everyone for the third time. Can you guess what he says? He says everyone is annoying. So Saizo says he's rather annoyed with the Trash Tribe for interfering with his work, because Saizo was actually sent on a mission by Ichinosuke, by his older brother, Ichinosuke, and his sickening veneers. Where did he go? He's hiding from me. Ichinosuke and his sickening veneers. He was given a mission by his brother to infiltrate Magata and find out what he's actually planning. And so Saizo was getting close before the Trash Tribe got involved. He discovered that there was a lot of information being sent to this robot. So the Chiyoda tribe had once created this robot called the Ultra Deluxe Robot, A+, naming the UDX robot. It was designed by Tenshin Otori, the former leader of Chiyoda tribe, as a robot that can be used to quash any rebellion. It was never used, it was never operated, and so it ultimately ended up just floating in the sky of Chiyoda City like everything else. Everyone immediately realizes that this must be where Magata stored his AI personality simulation. And that's why there was so much data coming in and out of the robot. Q realizes that with Magata disappearing, something bad is going to happen. And so Q rushes off to the UDX robot, where none other than Mr. Zero is waiting for him. Mr. Zero in his human form. And he basically says to Q, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this? This whole city hates you. Why did you come here to try and fight this? And why did you come here to try and destroy this robot when you yourself aren't in good shape? I know you got stabbed by someone. You can't hide that from me. You need medical attention, not to be fighting some kind of giant robot right now. You know that if you do this, you're not going to come out unscathed. Why would you do all of this knowing that everyone in the city absolutely hates your guts?" And Ojiro responds, and Ojiro says, "It's because I have to. I have to make amends. I'm the one who caused all of these problems. If it wasn't for me, Magata would have never been able to take advantage of the people of the city. I'm the whole reason that the people of the city are in pain in the first place. I'm the one who has to take responsibility and save them." And so, as expected, the UDX robot wakes up because Magata plans to use it to destroy just a little bit of the city, basically create a big, devastatingly traumatic event so that the AI can go back in and swoop in and appeal to everyone's empathy once again and regain his sort of cultic following. Q is not going to let that happen, so he fights with the robot alone. He destroys the robot alone. As expected, he's not okay though. The fight was too much for Q. Q collapses to the ground, and he says, "I'm happy. I did it. I saved everyone. I feel like I've finally been able to make amends with all of the horrible things that I did in my past. My one and only regret is that I wish I could see my comrades from the Trash Tribe one more time." And so Q dies. Ojiro Otori dies alone with nobody knowing that he saved them all. And so Mr. Zero once again appears before the dying Q and he says, "I told you so. I told you you weren't going to come out of this unscathed. I'll never understand you people. I'll never understand why you would choose to become a martyr for all of these people who just absolutely despise you. But I respect you, Ojiro. I respect your choices. I respect everything that you've done. I think you deserve a pat on the back. Good job. And I heard your wish." So we go back to the Hina Cafe, where everyone is kind of getting ready to celebrate because they did it. They managed to defeat another member of the Numbers, and that means they're getting closer to the final wish. And so everyone's just kind of waiting for Q to show up so that they can start the party. Kazuki starts to get a little bit concerned that they're not receiving any messages from Q. Obviously, Kazuki is his bestie, his boyfriend. So Kazuki starts to immediately try to get out. He immediately tries to leave the cafe to look for Q, but he is stopped at the entrance by Q. And so everyone is obviously like, "Oh my gosh, there you are, Q. Where have you been? We're ready to start the party. Okay, let's start the party, everybody." Oh, no, they call him Ojiro. They're like, "Hi, Ojiro. Okay, we can finally start the party now that Ojiro is here." He is a weirdo, you feel like that was established. And so Ojiro takes Kazuki to the side. His boyfriend. And so he asks, he says, Kazuki, Kazuki, who is Ojiro Otori? And so Kazuki, in a rare moment, loses his cool. And he storms out of the cafe, screaming. Zero? I can't scream. I can't scream right now. There are people in the house. I can't be screaming like Kazuki. But he is screaming. Zero, get out here right now. We need to talk. What the hell? He's over here arguing with the little doll version of Zero. What the hell did you do to Q? He finally felt like he was making amends with his past, and you just why does he no longer have his memory of his time as Ojiro Otori? And Zero says, well, he died, so I revived him because I can do that, you know. And Kazuki says, like, but last time when you revived Tsuki, you know, when you revived Tsuki and Sui, they were perfectly fine. They had all their memories when you brought them back. Like you need to go and you need to fix Q right now. To which Zero says, shut up. You need to check yourself, boy. Zero, he himself loses his cool a little bit. And he says, because Kazuki asks him, don't you understand how frustrating it is for someone to finally make amends with their past only to lose it all? And Zero says, no, I don't understand. I don't understand you people at all. And you know what? It's cute that you think, it's cute the way you think I just revive people and I don't necessarily just bring them back. I actually revive them. Like, you of all people, Kazuki, should know exactly how this whole revival thing works because you've experienced it yourself multiple times. Huh? Ooh, we'll talk about that statement in the lore portion. Honey. So a dejected Kazuki returns to the cafe, where Q once again pulls him to the side and says, Kazuki, I get the sense that something weird happened to me. I don't really know what's going on, but just so you know, Kazuki, I'll always be there for you. I'll always have your back, and I'll always do whatever it takes to help the Trash Tribe and just protect everybody. So don't worry, Kazuki. Everything's gonna be okay. Kazuki damn near looks like he's about to cry at that point, but that is where the chapter ends. Ooh, what a sickening ending. What a sickening cliffhanger to announce end of service on. That's it. Bye, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening. Cheers.